Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Mega Man Rock Force. In the last part, I played as Dive Man and Night Man, and defeated Crypt Man and Charade Man. So now, it's time to start out and continue with Tornado Man versus Circuit Man. And yeah, even with the Rock Force member here, the Circuit Man stage took the most retries in order to complete correctly. As shown there, we have the simple tornado blow or tornado propellers that Tornado Man can throw out, and as shown here, they can block the pellet shots of these Sniper Joes. And if it doesn't hit a target, it'll go forward a bit and then travel backwards. It can also pierce through targets if it destroys them, or some targets like those blocks over there. And also, Tornado Man has one of the highest jump heights out of any member of the Rock Force, so that's pretty nice. So it makes getting through some of the stages quicker and a bit simpler. The other thing here is that if you press the jump key and you hold the down button at the same time, he'll do this sort of graceful tornado descent, where he'll just descend slower. And if you mash the jump button while you still hold down, you'll slowly descend, which makes platforming in a few areas, precision platforming as shown in the latter part of the stage, much simpler to do. And of course, he still inherits his tornado blow attack from Mega Man 9, though like with Dive Man, it drains some weapon energy during usage, so you can't do this infinitely. There's another use for that descent feature, but I'll be showing that off during the boss fight. Well, in another part of the stage, where you can basically use it like a Goomba Stomp. And where if you Goomba Stomp the enemy, you'll bounce right off of them afterwards, without taking any amount of damage. Which is nice, as you can basically do it like a pogoing on enemies to death, or Goomba Stomping them. Here's not my best, well, playthrough of this, but it's the only one where I survived, so I took a lot of damage. Here's another funny use of this, where you can just use the tornado blow to skip past that segment, as it'll increase your jump height. Also, the sun spikes, or whatever they're called, they come out in a predictive pattern this time. In this stage, they come out in a counterclockwise pattern, starting from the top, the left, bottom, the right, then top again, compared to as before, where it was completely random. I do like this change, as it makes going to this stage much simpler. Here's our use of the Goomba Stomping. As a note, if you play as a character who can't shoot projectiles through the wall, like for example Bomb Man, then these light bulbs will be cracked and they'll gradually turn on and off after a set period, which is pretty nice. Here I could have actually passed through this segment by Goomba Stomping over these two sets of rockets, but I decided to just take the safe route and do it this way. After all, I didn't want to have to redo the stage again, as at the latter part of the stage, even with the Tornado Man, is quite annoying, as he doesn't exactly have an invincibility move like Dive Man does, or high explosive attacks like Bomb Man. And I could have gone for this extra life, but I already have enough already. Here's a great use for the graceful descent, where you can slowly descend by mashing the key. And I probably should have gone from the bottom in order to not take damage. And yeah, I don't know why I exactly skipped that life. Kind of an error on my part. And we still have, and Tornado Man still has the same shot limit as Mega Man, as in 3 tornado propellers at once. Of course, there's some segments here, as due to his little bit less jump distance, he can't make this jump, so I had to take damage so I wouldn't get killed by the spikes, which is annoying. And this made this upcoming segment very hectic. And I didn't actually show it off here, but his bounce ability also works wonders against Sniper Joes, makes minced meat out of them. But overall, combined with his hover ability and his bounce ability and the tornado blow being able to block shots, he's one of my favorite characters to play as, or medium tier specifically. as I like all the members of Rock Force except maybe Dive Man minus Water Stages and Night Man. The other ones feel relatively correctly powered. And of course, here's a nice use of the Goomba Stomp, or the bounce ability. So yeah, I pretty much make mincemeat out of him and can completely avoid most of his shots. And you can actually dodge those blocks very easily. In fact, there's a funny glitch that's, I believe, Super Metal Sonic 360 showed, where if you destroy that, if you keep bouncing off of him and get that block destroyed before Circuit Man grabs it, he'll hold his arms up for the duration of what would the attack be. So he basically holds his arm up in his gesture of surrender, which is pretty funny. Alright then, we transition from Tornado Man to Cut Man. But overall, to summarize, I like playing as Tornado Man, especially in platform-heavy segments. He has quite a bit of uses, though he's not my favorite character just yet due to some issues with his power. But he makes platforming much simpler. Alright, time to switch over to Cut Man. And now we have a little bit of a different scenario. So Cut Man is strong against Pulse Man, so he's going up against next. Cut Man retains his rolling cutter from Mega Man 1, though it's more useful. For one, it can actually pierce through these enemies, and instead of being able to throw one rolling cutter at a time, you can throw a max of 3, matching the shot limit for Mega Man and Tornado Man. As shown here, you can also do a wall jump. So you can travel through walls, though it's not as useful as, for example, Elect Man's wall jumping. At most, unless the walls are very close to each other, you can only do one wall jump at most. It does save yourself. Now you have 3 ways you can throw the rolling cutter. You can throw it the normal way with the fire button, it will fire straight forward and back. If you can do the up plus the fire button and fire an upward arc, or my favorite, you can actually press down and fire button and it'll fire it directly downwards, where it'll then slide across the ground until it either vanishes due to a set limit, time limit, or it falls into a pit. What makes this so fun is that it can pass through so many ground enemies and quickly take care of them. And there was demonstration in the up arc. You have to be a little bit careful about the upward arc, as it takes a little bit of a while getting used to. And don't wall jump into the red platform on the left. It's basically a trap. Unless you're willing to take half damage from the spikes, or instant death if you don't have the spike guard and you're playing on spikes with instant death setting, you're just going to fall into the spikes. You need a longer jump height to do that. I believe with Tornado Man you could make that jump. And here's the hardest segment of this stage is Cut Man. Cut Man cannot reach this boss if he fires directly to the left with his rolling cutter. So what you need to do is fire to the right and hope that it'll reach this boss when it returns. The problem with this is that if you hold up or hold down while doing it, it'll instead fire a rolling cutter where it'll either be arcing for up, which won't reach it, or if you do down, it'll just fall into the ground, which is quite annoying to take care of. In fact, I believe you skip this boss if you play as Bomb Man, though I'm not sure. So yeah, with characters who don't have projectiles which pass through walls like this, this is a nightmare to go through. In fact, this is why I actually had to use an E-tank in this segment, as I died at least 10 or 12 times on this boss. No other part of the stage gave this much trouble. And there we have it. The rest of the stage is, well, relatively smooth sailing. We still have these energy beam segments from before. However, those floating spikes have been replaced by these floating orbs, which do a little bit high damage, but it's relatively normal instead of the instant death or half damage of these spikes, as demonstrated here by accident. As if in my original playthrough, everything would be instant death and that would be instant death there. I wanted to make this playthrough a little bit less tedious, so... Also, a funny way of taking care of those rockets. Also, as a nice touch, when Cut Man slides, he actually has a nice smile face. I think this is taking his character from Mega Man powered up, which you can see during the ending, as well as if you rescue him the last. But yeah, Cutman's piercing ability and all the creative ways he can actually throw his rolling cutter, combined with his wall jumping, he makes him a very fun character. I would say he's my third or fourth most favorite member of the Rock Force to play as. And as shown here, he makes very quick minced meat out of this boss. It's too bad I couldn't get it perfect on this boss because I got stuck, trapped by those orbs. Though the rolling cutter makes short work of those as well. So overall, a very fun character to play as, though in certain stages where he has to fire long distance, I show him at that mid-boss fight, it can be a kind of a problem. But with that, we transition to Nitro Man. And boy, Nitro Man is my second or third most favorite character to play as, depending on the stage. As Shockman's stage, the stage we'll be going to next, it has a nice, very good demonstration of how Nitro Man can play, and how fun he can be. Alright, here we are. And here's the reason why I like Nitro Man so much. He can turn into a motorcycle and basically skip most of this first segment of the stage. Some people were actually able to get through this entire segment with just the motorbike, though that was in normal mode and without all these mats, as you can plow right through these enemies. Now you can plow through them through the non-shielded enemies without taking any damage, without stopping. But if you hit it, it will damage the enemy, but it will also damage you. But it's a very quick way of getting past these enemies, if you can dodge them correctly. And it can also climb up walls, as shown here. And of course, Nitro Man still inherits his wheel cutter from Mega Man 10. You can either hold it in place and use it like a chainsaw, which pierces enemies, but doesn't really pierce enemy shields. He can also use it to climb up walls, also from Mega Man 10, which saved me from that mat, falling into that pit. Though you must have enough inertia in order to climb upwards. That is, you must be able to have the wheel cutter against the wall as soon as possible, or fast enough, otherwise you'll fall to your death. And this actually pierces shielded enemies as well, which is a bonus. And afterwards he can actually fire it straight forward, but it takes some time to accelerate, sadly. Or you can actually just do the up plus fire button and it'll fire it in a slight upward arc before falling. He can fire 3 at most, but due to his time to accelerate and actually hit enemies, it can be somewhat of finicky to use. Though it's so nice to quickly make mincemeat of enemies due to the lack of invincibility period. Though, due to how this weapon works, it's more of a problem to fight bosses with this. He makes mincemeat out of most enemies, but depending on which boss fight it is, it can be a problem to take care of them. Like, for example, Pulse Man. Well, mainly Pulse Man because of all those attacks that happen at once, but you can do it as well. Or any fast Robot Master. And here's a funny way you can actually skip a lot of this climbing segment. Before, the Mega Man had to be really careful while taking care of these enemies in those orbs. But here I can pretty much skip past all of that by just climbing up the wall. Like for example here, I have to either take care of these shield attackers, or I can just jump to the left and skip past all of this. Unfortunately, I can't really do the same thing here. As shown here, it pierces right to through these shield attackers, so that's always nice. He joins the ranks of Cutman, and I think Bomb Man as well, and piercing shielded enemies. That's always nice. Unfortunately, he can't really pierce Mets with their indestructible helmet armor and whatnot. So no abilities like the Black Hole Bomb. But always it's so fun to climb walls like that, and drive as a motorcycle. With careful practice, you can pass through a lot of stages pretty quickly. In fact, I would say he's one of the speedrunners' dream, with the ability to climb up these walls, go past fast. I would like to see a speedrunners game playing only as Nitro Man. Well, first Mega Man versus Pulse Man, then Nitro Man. Alright, here's Shockman, and, well, because how Shockman doesn't really move that fast, and he moves very predictively, Nitro Man makes very short work of him. Especially when you use it like a chainsaw. But yeah, to summarize Nitro Man, a very fast, nice, speedy character to speedrun as. Wheel Cutter can be used in a creative fashion, though it's kind of short range and kind of finicky to use. Best to use a chainsaw. And great for skipping segments. Unfortunately, due to how his Wheel Cutter works and his slow speed and time to accelerate to max speed, it can make some boss fights a little bit difficult, especially on hard mode, and some stages as well. For example, Trill Man. But with that, the next 3 World Masters are down. In the next part, we'll be going after the last 3. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Doodles!